Let's Get To presents Go Go Astros, a focus on H-Town hardball.
Abreu strikes out the side.
And we are back on Go Astros, and we're recording this, Brian, seconds after the Astros combined no-header, which we will get to in 1 second. Brian Arbor's here with us. Andy is not here tonight. He's out with throat discomfort, which either means he'll be back tomorrow or he's getting a throat transplant, one or the other. Brian, first brushes, just overall opinion of tonight's effort.
The pitching was awesome.
All right. Well, there you go. That wraps us up on Go Astros.
I mean,
it was.
First impression, I mean, they threw a combined no-hitter. We talked this morning on the show, right, about, that Christian Javier seemed a really good matchup, that he had that his fastball would be a big weapon against the Phillies, who aren't great against, they're good, but not great against high velocity. And he really had it moving and really had it working. And then the bullpen was excellent, particularly highlighted by 3 straight strikeouts by Brian Abreu, who just looks, his shoulders get bigger every time.
I'm telling you. Yeah. I'm telling you, he's wearing shoulder pads under that thing. He has to be. Brian, it was pretty cool because I was listening to the broadcast at the end, and I usually listen to our guys. But I like the fact that they pointed out that both Javier and Abreu are homegrown talent from our system, and the fact that the Astros were able to find players that other teams overlook.
Yeah, and that's true with Javier and Abreu and Urquidy are all guys who are signed. The minimum age at which you can sign in international free agent is the age of 16. These were all older than that, and they signed for very little. There was very little investment, but it speaks to, and this isn't just an international development thing, guys like Chas McCormick, what we've seen from Jeremy Pena, the development of the ability of this team to develop players, this organization to develop players. And sometimes I think this gets overlooked. They continue to develop and have players get better once they get to the majors. Javier, Fromber, Brian Abreu, none of these are people who showed up at the major leagues fully formed. They are people who've gotten better, who've improved while they're on the Astros, which again speaks to the high quality of the coaching staff, and that they got there from being, I think in Javier's case, he signed for like $50,000, which is very little money for these things here. That he made his way up is, again, also a testament to the coaching and development of the Astros minor league system.
What I wanted to, we talked about after the Jordan Miracle comeback at the first game of the ALDS that it was a body blow. Would Seattle respond? Seattle didn't respond. Last night, the Astros they got it handed to them. You can use whatever euphemism you want. And I saw some of our fellow Astros fans being very upset at how blasé the guys were about it and how Bregman was still upbeat. What does this say about the mental toughness of this baseball team to get bludgeoned? The only word for it, and to come out and be patient at the plate, except for Lesman Diaz.
Yeah, I think the first thing to note is they've been in many playoff situations, and basically, particularly the veteran players, Altuve, Bregman, Gurriel, Verlander, they've been in situations like this many times before. So, one of the things I think that works about playoff baseball is that you don't get caught up in the hype, that you treat it, with seriousness and intensity, but that you don't, get caught up in the moment. And so it's not surprising to me that they were very matter of fact in their comments last night, because again, that's what you'd expect. Also, it's baseball. Momentum is your next day starting pitcher. And boy, do we have a good one going tonight for our side.
We had a great one going tonight. And one of the cool things, I just looked it up, is that in his last 2 starts, Christian Javier's gone 11 1/3 and gave up 1 hit. A hit. We've been on this show lobbying for him to have a bigger role, and I think we can definitely slot him in as the number 2 or number 3 starter next year, no matter how it goes. But again, I want to go back to the offense real quick. Relatively a much more patient approach. We saw 20 pitches out of their guy. Why can't I think of his name right now?
Aaron Nola.
Yeah, Nola. So we saw 20 something pitches out of him. They really did make him work. And then for the first time in a long time, we had productive at bat after productive at bat. And I remember telling Jess, like, they had 3 singles in a row that basically amounted to 0 runs. I didn't know how many more they had in them. And apparently, I don't know anything about baseball.
Yeah. After, building up and building up and building up, I think it was 16 innings, 17 innings without a run, the dam burst. And they got the 5-run outburst. They only needed one of them, but they got the 5-run outburst. They chased Aaron Nola from the game early. And they got to the Phillies' best starter. So there have been 2 stories to this, World Series from the Astros standpoint. One is they're able to hit the best Phillies pitchers. They have gotten lots of runs off of Nola and then off of Wheeler. And I guess the other story is they haven't gotten runs off the rest of the Phillies pitchers, which is kind of odd.
It is odd. I think that's coming, right? Like, I think we've talked about the depth already. And unlike the other night, it felt like Philly was going to some of their more leverage guys tonight as opposed to last night. So I think it could bode well for the guys. And no matter what, we're going to have a game 6 in Houston, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a best of 3 series now. The pattern has been Phillies win, Astros wins. They will have to break that pattern. But again, 3 games is not a lot of games, but you have the better team in general. Andy made that point this morning. You're asking, what's the hope? The hope is we have a better team.
First of all, can we talk about how weird it was that Andy had to be the hopeful one in the group? Like, that's not a...
It was really new. It was different. Yes.
It threw our dynamic off a little bit. Yeah.
Shout out, Andy.
Yeah, there you go. We appreciate it. No, and I, obviously going tomorrow is Justin Verlander, and everybody on the loud Astros fans are dreading a Verlander start.
Mm-hmm.
I think he bounces back. I think that, I think you made the point earlier in our show today that he's not a guy that fails 2 times in a row, and he's somebody that's always kind of trying to figure out what went wrong.
Yeah, he's that he has had such a poor record in the World Series is inexplicable. Because is he a choker? Well, let me show you his ALCS and his ALDS record, which is awesome, both with the Tigers and, of course, with the Astros. He got us to the World Series in 2017, pitching us through the ALCS, where he was the MVP. So it's not like he gets tired at the end of the season or there's some sort of thing. It's just his bad games have happened to be in the World Series. But usually what fixes these things is, hey, keep playing more games, keep getting more chances, and the true talent level will show. So it's another chance to do that. More importantly, because the Astros got to the Phillies' best starter tonight in Aaron Nola, the Phillies are going to come up with Noah Syndergaard and a bunch of bullpen guys tomorrow.
Yeah. Unless they move Wheeler up, but which they could do, I guess. But
yeah. But I think, they're definitely going to pitch a game 6, and they wanted to push Wheeler back. It looked, you initially thought he'd pitch game 5, that they pushed him back to game 6 and wanted to get an extra day's rest despite getting the bonus extra day with the rain out. Indicates to me they don't think he's 100%. And they hope he's 100% for game 6. Maybe he will be, but that doubt is, it could work to the Astros favor.
Yeah, and I mean, the Astros have been there. That was the story for the Astros pitching staff last year. There was just, when you start having to throw, Jesus to take the wheel of the bullpen cart, it doesn't always work out. That was a nice little metaphor I just made. That was pretty good. The real hero of the game, of course, is Jessica singing her Getting a Hit song. It did not work for Diaz, so she stopped, but she definitely, I think, deserves season tickets.
I'd also like to thank Jessica for only singing that song in the top half of the innings, because she sung in the bottom half of innings. Be very different.
Yeah, there was definitely. She tried to come up with some pitching ones, and I just said, just don't mess with the streak. You bring up a good point, though, because there's a lot of hypothesis from Philly beat writers that's happening right now, actually, about will they move Wheeler up. But either way, you're playing a game 6. it seems like if Wheeler's your guy, you save him to prevent elimination as opposed to just trying to get a lead in the series.
Yeah, I don't know which way they'll go other than, I guess if they would, if they went with Wheeler in game 5, that would lead to an issue for them in game 6 of either Syndergaard or Suarez on short rest. And if you throw Suarez, you're committing to Nola on short rest. So all of those scenarios involve a lot of your bullpen if you're the Phillies, and there's a handful of bullpen arms that they trust, despite the good performances they've gotten from the other guys in their bullpen today. So, the best thing from a Phillies standpoint is that the concerns about Wheeler are overblown, and he's 100% when he gets on the mound. We will see what happens when it does. He got beat up by the Astros in game 2. But the good news for the Astros is Verlander in game 5, Fromber in game 6. They're very solid on the mound the next 2 days.
Yeah, and I think you can mix and match then at that point for a game. If you have a game 7 and feel very comfortable with what we can mix and match with, I think Javier will be able to get you at least 2 innings in that situation. So a couple of unsung heroes, I guess. Yuli Gurriel, talk a little bit about his World Series, his playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, he's gone, 48 straight at-bats with no strikeouts.
And a particular time when you want not to get a strikeout is the scenario he was batting in the top of the 5th. Runner on third, 1 out, infield in. If you make contact, the chances that the contact you make will be a hit. And he made he made ground ball contact that would have been an out had the infield been in its normal position. But the fact that it was that he had a 2-strike count, he didn't get a strikeout. Okay, led to an RBI, led to an extra run. Gurriel's been really struggled through the regular season, has been to me, surprising contributor in the postseason, and that's been quite welcome.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of consider re-signing him next year level, how he's played in this postseason. Jordan feels close. I mean, I don't know. He had a fly out today that would have been a home run in Minute Maid Park. What do you see from Jordan?
Hold on. He had the game-winning RBI tonight.
He had the game-winning RBI.
Right, because you and I are old. You're old enough, and I'm old enough to remember when game-winning RBI was a real stat that they put in the box score.
That's right.
And Jordan got the first RBI of the game by offering his back to pitch 2 feet inside. So
unique strategy, Cotton. We'll see how it works. But yeah, I mean, I feel like he's coming around.
Yeah, but to your serious point, yeah, he did seem to make some good swings tonight going opposite fields, and he seems close and used that. But hey, the best swing of the night, both in terms of it produced the best outcome that shifted the game for the Astros, and also was a really impressive swing in the context of, hey, bases loaded, nobody out, 2 strikes on you. It looks like this guy's really got something on you. Was Alex Bregman's swing on the outside fastball from Alvarado, the one he hit for the opposite field 2-run double. And that was really, to me, a really, and again, it shows you why he's a really good hitter, because he's not going to take bad swings. He's going to focus and lock in and be able to hunt the ball down and at least both make contact on it. In this case, made really hard and good contact, drove in 2 runs, led to really open the floodgates for that big inning.
Yeah, and he had his first at bat, even though he got out, was a great at bat. Of course, we were used to that. He fouls balls off. He's really good at getting it done. All right, not everything was perfect. We had a DH actually get a hit last night and get rewarded with being benched. What is going on at the DH position, and how do you see it shaking out the next 3 games?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Does Dusty know? I mean,
yeah. I mean, because, intrinsically, Hensley's the worst hitter, we think, of that group. But both Mancini and Diaz looked really lost at the plate. Diaz had a really poor at-bat in the 2nd inning when it looked like, hey, you can get the first run here. You got runners on 1st and 3rd with 1 out. And, never looked better throughout the game. Mancini's had a similar thing. So if he goes with Hensley, that's fine, because, the way they look recently is much worse than what their projections are for Mancini and Diaz.
The Diaz thing surprises me because he's usually known to run into one, and he at least usually puts up competitive at bats. But I agree, these weren't even. He needs a winner off before he can, I think, figure this out.
Possibly so. And, I think Dusty's just, I'm just try somebody and I hope it works. And, I guess the other possibility, you could have Christian Vasquez as your DH tomorrow. Maldonado's going to catch. You do lose flexibility.
Explain that to me and the audience, how that works.
Yeah. So you'd have both your catchers in the lineup. If you pinch hit for Maldonado, you can turn your designated hitter into a position player.
Okay.
But you would just lose the designated hitter and have the pitcher in the lineup. So I think it would limit you to pinch hitting for Maldonado until the 8th or 9th inning when you think it's his last at bat, and you're not going to have that spot come up again. So there are some real concerns about the end of the game if that happened, but I guess that's the other possibility Dusty could consider for the DH spot.
Just National League it and keep pinch hitting for the pitcher whenever.
At some point, if you played the 18-inning game, you'd have a lot of pinch hits, and
yeah, that's true.
At some point, if we played 18 innings, Zach Greinke, you might not be the last pitcher who ever got a hit in the World.
Well, and I will say that Maldonado's actually had a pretty good postseason too. Like it's been surprising. I guess as we put a bow on tonight's episode, that will, wrapping this series up. Again, had the Astros in 6. I do not think Justin Verlander has 2 bad starts in him in a row.
Yeah, and you have a big advantage in the pitching matchup, which should allow for. I expect it tonight to be a low-scoring game. I didn't expect it to be a no-hit game, obviously, but I expect it to be a low-scoring game. The Astros have a better chance tomorrow of scoring some runs, putting up some effort against Noah Syndergaard and the middle part of the Phillies bullpen. So clear advantage tomorrow, but they have to take advantage of that. And again, Framber Valdez has been an outstanding pitcher this year, including in Game 2, and he'd get the ball in Game 6. And yeah, I'm pretty confident in that combination.
Yeah, I am too. And I love the idea that it's coming back. And again, I keep coming back to they basically just crack some myths, like watching the Philly faithful file out of the ballpark in the 7th and 8th inning. I think bouncing back from getting just embarrassed. I mean, we saw the national media for the last 24 hours has been all about planning parades in Philly, and now not so fast, my friends, to quote a guy from another sport.
Yeah, definitely won't be a parade in Philly this week. We will see what happens next week. But again, series is even, best of 3. You've got the better team, so it's even on the even the number of wins, but a slight but meaningful advantage to the Astros in the odds moving forward.
That's right. I think as we wrap up, 538 has them back to, I think, having a 65% chance of winning the World Series. Brian, we'll be back not tomorrow, but the next day to hopefully talk about the Astros being up 3-2. Have a good night and go Astros.
Cheers to all our listeners. Go Astros.